I am going to be making a vegetarian chili, and I have to improvise because I don't have all the ingredients. The recipe that I'm adapting from says to use kidney beans, but I don't even like kidney beans, so I prefer black beans. It also said to use some lentils, but I'm just out of lentils. This is just going to have black beans in it, and I haven't decided if I'm going to put some chickpeas in there as well. I need to put in an onion. Now, the color of your pepper can be whatever you want. The recipe I had said red, but I only have a green one left. I like to add mushrooms, tomatoes. I also will add some dehydrated garlic in there and some dehydrated ginger because I put ginger in everything. I'll put a couple of carrots that are diced. I'll throw in some green onions and celery. And here's a good hack for tomato paste. I had already frozen one of these cans, and what I did was I cut it in 3, and then so I had 3 sections of it. I only have 1 serving left, and that's the one I'm going to use today. But instead of having to waste a can, I just freeze this and I put it in the freezer for a couple of hours, take it out, cut it in 3, put it in a plastic bag, and then I have the right serving amount that I need to. Usually it's more than 2 tablespoons, but I like things tomatoey, so it doesn't matter to me. The celery that I picked up today, it's a little bit on the small and skinny side, but I think I'm only going to need 1. I don't need 2 today. So that's what the celery stalk looks like when I have it chopped up. I don't dice it too fine. I like things to be on the chunky side. One thing I will mention for this recipe is that you need to set about an hour and a half worth of time. You need an hour for it to cook on the stove and roughly half an hour for food prep. And that probably would go a lot faster, but I'm a slow chopper. But definitely an hour for cooking time. I'm using 1/2 of this onion because I want to save the other half for my sweet potato and black bean soup. I've already done a recipe for that one, but I'm going to be making that recipe next. There's my half an onion all chopped up. It's on the large side. And while you don't need green onion in there because I just put a half an onion in there, I have so many of them, I'm just going to throw it in my chili as well. If I still have some left after I make it, like during the week, I'll just chop it up for a garnish. This is also a fairly large carrot. Sometimes I put in 2 carrots. The green pepper I'm using today is kind of, it's not really a medium. Yeah, I guess it's a medium one. So I'm just going to use half of it and use the other half for my other recipe. And that's what roughly half a medium bell pepper looks like. Last ingredient I'm going to chop are 3 of these Roma, otherwise known as plum tomatoes. There are my 3 Roma tomatoes, and again, chop them to the size that you like. Mine are on the large size. I've got all the ingredients that I've chopped up, and I'm using my Old Faithful Lagostina pot. So everything is in there. I'm just going to start it off on 6, but I'm probably going to have to turn it up to closer to boiling once I have everything else in. I have a small package of mushrooms. I'm going to put about half of those in there as well. So I'm taking that frozen piece of tomato paste. I'm going to throw that in there. I am going to add in 3 cups of water, but the container I'm using only holds 2 cups, so I will add another cup in just a second. And then I opened up a can of black beans, and I'm using roughly a cup because I want to save the remainder of the can for the soup that I'm making later. And then we will talk spices in just a second. The recipe is suggesting that chili powder be used and some powdered garlic, but I don't have powdered garlic, so I'm just going to use dehydrated garlic. And I put ginger on everything, so I'm probably going to put a teaspoon of those in there, and probably a teaspoon of the chili powder as well. I just made a last minute decision to also add a teaspoon of the cumin. I gave everything a little stir so all the spices could be mixed up. I increased the temperature to boil, and then once it boils, I will turn it down and simmer it for 1 hour, and I'm going to cover it. But before I do that, I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to it. Give it a little stir one more time, and then throw on the cover and make sure it doesn't overboil, and check in on it in an hour. This recipe would be awesome for the crock pot, so you could always chop up your ingredients the night before and cook it overnight. It's beginning to boil now. I am going to reduce the heat to about, that's what my stovetop would be for a simmer. Since I didn't put as much vegetables, like I usually put an extra carrot or celery in there, and I usually put a whole can of black beans or half a can of lentils, I noticed that I have a lot of more liquid, like more water, so I figured I'm going to add another cup of chickpeas. My beans in this chili will be 1 cup chickpeas and 1 cup black beans. And now the heat will sit more between 2 and 3 for the remainder of the hour. It's been an hour, so now this has to cool off before I can put it in my meal prep containers. I'll just show you how I put the same amount of food in my meal prep containers. This just happens to be an old postage scale, but it works the same as just a regular scale. So I put the power on, and it doesn't matter to me if it's grams or ounces. I just want to have approximately the same amount of food that I would normally eat in each container. These are the containers that I use, and so that it takes the weight into account of the container, I want to level it out to 0, so I press tare. So now any food that I add in will be a true accurate weight, and I'll show you how much I would normally eat. This happens to be a generous portion, so this would probably be more of a dinner serving. It's almost 11 ounces. So I will let that cool off and freeze it, and then I'll usually add some basmati rice to it or brown rice, and then I have a really, really good portion because I've got my protein, which is my beans, and I have all those veggies in there. So if I'm looking for a real hearty filling meal, then that is what I would use. For more of a lunch portion, that would probably be more like 8 ounces. As you can see, I gave myself very generous portions. I could have easily got 6 to 8 containers worth if I was having a small lunch portion and I had something like bread on the side for dipping or a small portion of rice. But I tend to use these as my main meal for lunch or dinner. And like I said, it's usually a very small portion of rice. I don't add bread to it. But that's all I would have. I don't have anything else with it, and it's a really filling meal, and I'm quite happy with it.